Welcome to That Digital Take. I'm your host, Torri Webster. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to That Digital Take. Happy Monday. This is a real-time record. You're really up to speed today, guys. You're getting a very fresh episode. Sorry that it wasn't uploaded the way it normally is in the morning. However, we are here with a very fun recap of everything that's been going on because I get to come to you essentially live. It feels like I'm live streaming today. Hello, happy Monday. Hope everyone is looking for miracles this week. Let's go back to what's been going on. Guys, it's been a whirlwind. I landed from LA last night. I was with the Netflix team in LA for the big Netflix Tudum live event at the Kia Forum. It was quite the sight to be seen. Always really iconic to be a part of kind of the American kickoff events, like just the scale, the red carpets, the cameras, the star-studded experiences. We really got to see a ton of fun people. Adam Sandler. Come on, Adam Sandler in the flesh. It doesn't really get better than that. Who else did we see? Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. We saw the cast of Stranger Things, the cast of Outer Banks. It really was star-studded. I mean, when it comes to Netflix, it's like go big or go home. You know what I mean? So it was iconic. Loved my look this weekend. I was wearing this really fabulous like red Rodarte look, kind of different for me. I went a little bit more je ne sais quoi. Like sometimes I'm a bit girly. That felt very like vampy and different for me. So anyways, if you want some more BTS on that, I've been posting on my IG about that. So go tune in there for some more red carpet looks. And yeah, this weekend was just really fun. I wanted to chat a little bit about some of the content I created this weekend. So to recap, it was obviously a look at what's coming on Netflix. So it was kind of previews of trailers and also previews of what's to come. So kind of upcoming movies, upcoming TV shows, and really all that's exciting and cool in entertainment. So we've talked about this on previous episodes, but really being like first to the punch when it comes to, I mean, this goes for any news, but specifically entertainment news. TikTok really eats that stuff up. So this time I just went balls to the walls. I was like, I'm literally going to post in real time and go crazy. So as the show was taking place, I was just creating cut downs on my phone and then just like pushing it all out on TikTok with what I was hoping was like trending hashtags, trending, topics, things like that. And it's just so crazy because, when you take your own advice and it actually works, you're like, wow, good job. So a lot of my content this weekend really performed well because I was like first to the punch, the first one to get the news up. So that just feels really good. And sometimes I feel like I work in the stock market. I'm like, are we up? Are we down? We're having an up week. Okay, guys, we're on the up. The content is clicking. Like the stock is through the roof. The episodes are performing. The Miku episode did so well. Like, thank you so much for all of the love on that episode. All the cut downs on TikTok went viral. Really, really fun. And Miku is just such a star. And it's really cool to see the show getting this show, but also Miku getting some clout that she deserves, And with that, there was a lot of comments on TikTok asking about like acting and kind of like resurged this whole like love and kind of look into my life as an actor and also Miku's life and as an actor, and people love the behind the scenes. And that kind of begged the topic of this episode and kind of gave me a framework that I wanted to discuss with everyone today, which is, so you want to be an actor. Okay, so this episode is for people who are curious, potentially starry-eyed, and ready to dive into the business of acting. So this is basically my no BS guide for aspiring actors in 2025. And I do believe it is different in 2025 than it was when I started back in, I don't know what year, 2007, 2008. So a lot has changed, and I figure let's put it all in one place, create an acting themed episode, and hopefully this can act as a guide and also some, advice for people that might want to get into the industry, because I feel like that's obviously what is trending and topical for me this week. So let's dive right in. So section 1. The first thing I want to talk about is the myths versus the reality of being an actor. And I think this is a big one, right? Because when people look at the life of an actor, and specifically, let's use Miku as the example, right? We're chatting with an actor that is now the lead of a Netflix series. She's coming off of a hot lead role. But I do want to caution people, this is not just red carpets. This is not just lead roles. A lot of what it means to be an actor is actually background work, tons of auditions, and ultimately mass rejection. And again, I can't promise you whether you'll book a role in your first audition or you may never book a role. And that is a very real reality when it comes to acting. So specifically, there's now this social media effect of acting, which is interesting. And I think this begs another question, which is, does being viral help or hurt your acting career? Some might argue it actually helps, but we've also seen time and time again that talent can be scouted truly anywhere. And I think this has changed, right? Like there's the stories of like old Hollywood where someone would be sitting in a bar and they get scouted by an agent and they end up being this large, famous actor. That doesn't happen as much anymore. And I do think that a large social media following can help, but it doesn't necessarily translate to you being cast in a lead role. That said, it also doesn't hurt. There's a lot of examples of TikTokers or people that have gone really viral, and then they're able to kind of translate that into more traditional acting roles. And we do see that, like that is very much a thing. So I do think that can be a really powerful place to start. Now, just a quick aside on this. There's a world where influencers are looked down to when it comes to industry standards. And I say that because I feel like influencers are never given their flowers in the same way that like traditional actors are given their flowers. And there is this sort of funny, sentiment that if you're like an actor's actor and you really do it for the craft, that you are somehow better than, better than like a new media influencer. I don't necessarily believe this. I've just experienced this as someone that's been on both sides. I've been an actor, I've been an influencer, and I feel as an actor, you're given a lot more respect in the industry than like a creator. So again, words of caution, it doesn't mean one is better than the other. And being a creator can lead to so many other amazing opportunities. But I also understand just taking a backseat when it comes to social media and being like, no, I'm going to just focus on my craft and just be an actor and kind of like lead with caution that way. Okay, this leads to the next thing, which is acting school. So let's talk about this a little bit. There's kind of two, again, schools of thought when it comes to jumping into the industry. There's like real world experience, which is like putting yourself in, going to auditions and creating that edge, if you were. And I would argue that on-set experience is always going to be more valuable than school. And that's because school is a great place to find foundation, a great place to explore, a great place to build confidence. But really, when it comes down to it, nothing compares to being on set. There is the daily grind, the long hours, playing off of real other actors. You're also working with professional directors in that setting. So I do think that these are two very different experiences. Now, this is not me taking a negative stance on school. I think there is value in different places. I obviously went to university myself. I didn't study acting, but I studied business, and there's so much that comes from that. There's relationships. There's, like I said, foundation building. There is time for you to like not judge yourself and like truly explore as an actor, which is exciting. And I did a lot of acting classes when I first started. And I'm also someone that came from a theater background. So I had to really work on making everything smaller. Like when we're dealing with 4K cameras, like you guys can really see every expression I'm making. Like the camera is catching it all. Okay. So I had to really pull back. I had to go to school to essentially learn how to go from being a theater actor that I was my whole childhood to a film and TV actor, which is much more regulated and much smaller and much, just like it's a more quaint like that's the only way to explain it. Like you're catching everything on screen. And even to this very day, if I have auditions or if I have, classes with a coach, it's always about making it feel as real as possible. And even to the point where I'm so animated in my real life that when it comes to my on-screen work, I really have to pull back and be more chill, I guess. So again, that's such an aside, but there is such a space for school and for coaches and for acting. But I just want to err on the side of caution. Like you're not going to get what you need if it's just that. Like learning on set and being able to work on the fly and working with a director and work with other castmates is always going to reign superior when it comes to building your repertoire and resume. Okay, let's jump into section 2. That was a bit long-winded. Where do you start if you don't live in the industry? So this could be you don't live in New York, you don't live in LA, but you do want to work as an actor. This is how I believe you get started where you are. And like I said, in today's day and age, I genuinely don't believe you need to be where the industry is. You can be in Toronto, you can be in Canada, you can be in a small town in the US. You can really be anywhere. And it really starts with one, building your resume. This could be made up of student films. This could be made up of theater experience. This could be made up of self-tapes. You really can start from anywhere. I just want to nail that home. You don't have to live in LA to become an actor in 2025. The globalization of social media and entertainment, and the fact that nothing really films in LA anymore, you just don't have to be there to create work in this industry. Okay, 2, finding an agent. So after you've started to build your resume, the second step would be finding an agent. This is when you feel ready and you're not rushing the process and you've done your research and you find a reputable agent. Now, you have to audition for your agent. Some people don't know that. You have to go in, you have to do a monologue. It's also changed a little bit. It used to be that you'd go in person, you would read a monologue, you would kind of present yourself, you would take a meeting, as they say. Now it's changed. A lot of it is self-tape driven. Just after the pandemic, things have changed in the industry a lot. So 3, that leads to the next thing, which is self-tapes. You can put yourself on tape. And this is kind of the new best friend when it comes to 2025 industry standards. And again, this is positive because this means no barrier to entry. Anyone can put themselves on tape anywhere. It really used to be that you had to be physically in front of an agent, physically in LA, physically in Toronto, standing in front of someone doing a monologue. Now, putting yourself on tape can be so powerful. Someone can see you and they'll say, that's our star, that's our girl. And this is also something that can be your worst enemy because you're not guaranteed anything when it comes to a self-tape. And because it is virtual and because it is digital, we don't really know where these things land. I could put myself on tape 100 times, but that doesn't mean that a director or a casting agent is actually going to see me on tape. Versus when I was coming up in the industry, if I went into an audition room, sure, I could absolutely shit the bed when it came to my audition, but at least I was in front of someone. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, at least I knew that they saw me and I got that, in-person moment. So there is kind of these like perks and pitfalls of the way the industries have changed. And yes, self-tapes can be super powerful. And nowadays, most people are booking things from a self-tape. But the reverse of it is the in-person magic. Like most of the things I ever booked in my life came from being in an in-person audition because sometimes the sparkle just doesn't come through the same way as when a casting agent or a director can meet you in person. Okay, section 3, the audition grind. And this is the real one, folks. Auditioning is a skill and it is way more than just knowing your lines. It's building confidence, it's finding room to play and becoming the character before actually landing the role. So, way easier said than done. So let's talk about this. How do you prep a killer self-tape? There's a few things. 1, you have to think about lighting. So let's take my podcast studio as an example. I obviously have professional lighting on me. And again, I'm not saying you have to invest in professional lighting to do a self-tape, but you do have to be cautious about the world that you are creating around you. So do you have front light on you? Do you feel lit? Do you have shadows in weird places? Just be cautious of that. Like a hot tip is filming with natural light. If you're just in your apartment and you're doing a self-tape, always film with the natural light behind you. So the natural light is framing your face. It's lighting you up. It's bringing you into the frame, okay? Which leads me to the next thing, which is framing. This is huge. So again, let's use my podcast studio as an example. I'm in the center of the frame, okay? You're seeing me. We're close up. You're getting a vibe of what I'm doing. This is really important. Like if you're really far away, you feel disconnected from me. A casting agent doesn't want to see a frame that's like from across the room. They want it close, they want it intimate, and they really want to see your performance, which is leading me to my next thing. It's almost like I've prepared this, folks. Okay, so for the performance is the next thing. How much have you worked on this? Do you know who this character is? Have you done a lot of prep before you go into the audition? The next thing is wardrobe. Again, we think that these things aren't important, but they are. Today, I'm wearing a black tank top. Sure, I'm allowed to wear whatever I want because I am the producer of my own fate and I run the show here. But if I was playing a different role, if I was playing someone that was, Elle Woods, maybe I'd be in a hot pink wardrobe today. And I think you have to be cautious of that. You dress for the role you want, okay? Dress for the role that you're trying to book. The fourth, fifth, I don't know. Here's all the hot tips. Have a reader, okay? The worst thing you could possibly do is be fed a script with 2 people And I know actors that have done this. Please don't do this. They record the audio of the other person, and then they like do it back and forth. So it's like their own voice reading back to them. Like, casting agents are smart. They know if you're kind of playing a fast one on them. Be strategic, ask a friend, use a coach, do whatever you need to do to have someone off screen behind you. So the way it would work is like, here's my camera, here's me. Someone is standing behind the screen, okay? They're gonna read their lines, and then I'm gonna have my lines memorized, and I'm gonna read to them this way. I'm never gonna look down the barrel. Okay? Don't do that. The camera is its own character. So I'm looking off to the side to my reader. The reader and I are engaging in a beautiful script, okay? Make sure you have a reader, please. It also elevates your performance because you're playing off of a real human. You actually get to have connection. Okay, have these lines memorized. This is such a common mistake young actors make, is not being off book. Being off book means being able to play. Like, you are at a place with these lines that you genuinely have them in your soul. You're like, I can play, I am this person. And again, there is a world, certain directors don't like when you ad lib or when you add things in, but a general rule of thumb is like putting it in your own words, putting it in your own, like, you know, language, but be careful with that. Like, don't learn the lines that way. If you add a look or a see or a so here and there, that's completely fine. But you want to be off book to the point that you're respecting what the writers have written. And you are also cautious that this character is saying lines that were written for a reason. And a lot of directors don't like ad libs. So just know that there's a place for it, but there's also a place to just be completely off book and play within it. And being able to play within your intonation and your words is what I talk about when it comes to performance. I'm not saying, oh, go completely off book and like go crazy with your self-tape. That's not a way to get seen or find attention as an actor. A way to be seen and find attention is by being present, by finding moments, by finding pause, by finding the way I'm doing it right now, like a real human would. It's a human experience to be an actor. Yes, it is make it believe and play, pretend and all of that. But it's like, how can we believe that you are who you say you are? Okay. Section 4. Acting in the age of content creation. Now, we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but just to dive a little bit deeper into this, you're not just an actor anymore. You're a brand, okay? Let me say that again. You're not just an actor anymore. You're a brand. Let's talk about that. So creators are getting discovered by Hollywood through TikTok, through Reels, through social media, through YouTube. So building a digital presence strategically and showing off your acting skills in these Reels or short form, skits or comedy pieces can be super powerful. And it also puts you in a niche, which is great. And I guess this begs the question we chatted about at the beginning, which is, can you do both? Can you be a creator and also an actor and have this sort of hybrid career path? I do think yes. And we can also use what I saw this weekend with the Netflix live event in LA as an example. Half of the people that I saw on set over the weekend came from one, either reality TV. So they were on like the big reality TV shows through Netflix, which is like all the Selling Sunset cast was there. All of the Love is Blind cast is there. Now, are they necessarily actors? No, but they're creating this beautiful hybrid of like being internet famous and having a full-on presence online. And then also coupled with the fact that they have this traditional media outlet supporting them. So I just think there's a really tasteful way to do it. And I do believe you can do both. Section 5, the money side that I feel no one really talks about. Let's talk about paid versus unpaid residuals and why some actors have side hustles. So the first thing, union versus non-union work. This is really important, okay? So union work in Canada is different than union work in the US. In Canada, we have ACTRA. This is a union that oversees actors on set. It's really also massive for supporting child actors, which is something I know all too well, because what happens is they make sure that I'm given a certain amount of breaks on set. If I'm under the age of 16, I have someone watching me on set and making sure that I'm not being taken advantage of. I have school hours that I have to meet. So this is really important. The unions protect us. They are a body that also ensures fair wages, which is really important. And SAG is the counterpart to this in the US. Now, It doesn't mean that you have to be a part of the union to find success as an actor. There's a lot of work that is actually non-union work. A lot of commercials can be non-union work. And that's, again, how is a great way to get started. Get cast in a commercial, you build up your credits. Back when I started, I think you needed 3 credits to then become a part of the union. And you also get some extra benefits when you join the union, like health insurance and sort of these things that can make it feel like a real job. So again, you can start in non-union, move into union. There's a lot of ways to do it. Let's talk about the new Harry Potter series that just got cast. So we have Dominic McLaughlin in the role of Harry Potter, Arabella Stanton as Hermione Granger, and Alistair Stout as Ron Weasley for the Harry Potter HBO original series. How is this going to absolutely transform their life? Now, number one, this means immediately being out of school, right? So the biggest thing that people don't realize about child actors is you become homeschooled and you do all of your school on set. So these are now young kids being picked up out of their life, being thrown into, when I say a machine, and they are going to be living a whole new life on set, living with each other and becoming hopefully each other's new best friends. And then third, doing school and really kind of like having this disrupted childhood. Now, it's not to say one is positive or negative. These are like dream roles. We're talking Harry Potter. Like this is going to be transformative for them. But I do think it is interesting to note that sometimes you don't realize the changes in your life trajectory until you look back at them. And it'll be very interesting to see how in like 20 years, these child actors adjust. And what's really different about this age of Harry Potter versus the last round, which it would have been for, you know, Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe, when it came to their life as child actors, there was no social media. These kids got to have a whole life in the UK. And yes, they were global icons and superstars, but really, they only saw it when they went on press tours and when they were really like thrust again into that machine. But now we have these young actors that are going to have this like whole explosion of their life, but it's all going to happen before our eyes. And I think that that's interesting. And I'm curious to see how, one, it'll affect them differently. And then two, how they will leverage social media, if that, when it comes to showing more behind the scenes and more kind of maybe newness when it comes to the Harry Potter world. I feel like it was all very gate kept the first time around. And, you know, when it comes to Warner Brothers, these were things that we'd get to go visit and kind of see the sets and like a pay to play experience. But now with social media, we might get a front row seat, and I'm really curious to see how that's going to play out. Okay, so let's talk about day jobs when it comes to being an actor. So we all know this to be true. This is the thing. You got to balance the hustle. So if you are just auditioning and you're not booking the roles, which is a reality for most people, you got to pick up a day job or a side hustle. So this could be being a waiter. This could be being a photographer. We know a lot of famous actors that started as photographers like Patrick Adams. This is a real thing. People have to make money on the side and you need a side hustle. So getting paid for passion. Let's navigate the rates. Let's talk about contracts. If you can figure out how to do this early on in your career, this can be really powerful. This can mean, one, setting rates as a creative. And maybe you have a rule for yourself. You're like, okay, maybe I'm not a working actor, but second to that, I only want to make money in the creative industries. Maybe that's your rule. So you're like, I don't want to be a waiter, but I will be, you know, a PA, which is like someone that is a production assistant working on sets, or I'll get into life as like in a separate department. Maybe I'll be like in the makeup chair and doing makeup on set. I think there's a world where now we can create these boundaries for ourselves where maybe it's not taking the like random odd side job and doing something more industry related, because as we know, being in the room is the most powerful thing, and someone sees you and they think of you for that next thing, or they bring up your name to someone and then it leads to something else. So I do feel like we've edged away from just doing the money-making job, which would be like, yeah, slaying like cocktails on the weekend, and doing something more productive. Not saying that like being a waiter is not productive, but you know what I mean? Like if you're trying to be in the industry, doing something a little bit more narrow and figuring out a way in, I do feel like that is good advice and something that I would definitely explore. And also something I took to my heart when I kind of was in the industry. I was like, I want to stay in this industry. So even if I'm not working as an actor, which was true for me for a lot of years, potentially I'm doing something else, which is what led me to social media, which is what led me here. So again, small little steps can lead you down a path that can be very productive. Okay, section 6. The emotional toll and the rejection of this job is very real. So how do we keep our confidence intact? This is huge, guys. Like, it's so easy to lose your footing in this industry, especially when it comes to mental health, when it's tied to acting. Dealing with the no's is very, very real. It is constant. And in some ways, it creates a lot of positive work ethic. And I know I'm saying a positive and a negative at the same time. For me, it instilled my own confidence. It instilled in me that I cannot rely on outward resources to believe in my own talent. And this has led me to being a better creator as well, because we talked about it at the beginning. If the stock market is down, if the numbers are down, I can't be like, okay, I quit. Okay, I'm done. All right, I'm not going to put out any more, content. I'm not going to do another episode. I'm not going to do it because I don't see the reward. I don't see the views. I don't see the virality. Well, guess what? How are you ever going to get to the virality if you don't put in the reps? It literally is all about the reps. Like, if you stop, then you're never going to land on that one thing that's going to hit. And I mean, like, this is more real than ever, like, even for myself included. It's like, if you stop, and there is a lot of data that shows people will only do 10 auditions, people will only do 10 podcast episodes, people will only do 10 YouTube videos. People do not want to put in the reps. They want it to be instantaneous. That's not the industry. And if you want to be rewarded for that, like, quick little hit, then maybe you're looking in the wrong place for attention, because the reality is, like, not every single video is going to go viral. Not every single episode is going to hit. It's the small little reps that lead you to the bigger end goal, whatever that might be for you. So I don't know. This is huge, guys. Like, if there's one thing you can take away from this episode is, like, you have to go inward and find it in yourself to keep going, even when shit is looking bleak. Like, even when all the callbacks you're not getting callbacks, you're not getting a yes, you have to want it more than you think you want it. That's true too. Because even with acting, like, I can use myself as an example. I've been the person that's taken the step away from the industry because I was like, I don't want it as much as I, want this, or I don't want it as much as I want that. And it's putting it in the right place and understanding your ties to the industry and being like, do I really, really want it? Like, you have to be pretty real with yourself, because it could be years of going through auditions, going through no's, literally years, like, not to scare you. And I do want to also encourage you. Like, I'm not trying to sound negative about it. Some people just get lucky and you can have your lucky break. And I'm not trying to freak you out, but I'm trying to set you up for success. Like, people go into this industry thinking it's like, oh, flowers and roses and red carpets and makeup artists and stylists and all these things. And yes, that is a massive portion of this industry, but that is the 1%. That is the working actor. That is the lead actor on a Netflix series. There is a whole other side to this industry that is people doing, like I said, very small roles, people doing recurring roles, people doing small little guest star roles. That is a lot more real than the, like, number one on the call sheet lead. Okay. So just setting you up. I'm setting you up. Second is imposter syndrome and comparison culture. And this falls into the exact same thing that we're discussing, which is it's so easy to doubt yourself. It's so easy to look at someone else that's hitting either online or getting that lead role or whatever it might be. And you, again, have to find it within yourself to be confident and not look for the cheerleaders on the sideline, because ultimately at the end of the day, no one is really interested in clapping for you. No one is interested in giving you your flowers. So are you going to give them to yourself? And how are you going to give them to yourself? Like, for me, it's like taking the wins as they come. If you do have that really exciting week, then you just have to be like, amazing. And the key word is momentum. When you have momentum, lean in. When things are rolling, lean in. When something is moving, it's hard to stop it in a good way. You can't buy momentum. It's either happening or it's not. So when you have momentum, keep going. When the auditions are going well, keep going. When the content is going well, keep going. Like, that is not the time to pull back. That is the time to put your foot on the gas and be like, it's working. Keep going. Okay, the power of creative and community and mentorship. This is huge. Finding people in the industry that you look up to that you can rely on, that you can have really real conversations with when things are going right and when things are going wrong. And looking to someone to say, hey, okay, why did this work? Why did this not work? Can you give me some true feedback? Like, why do you feel like this hit? Why do you feel like this audition was powerful? Why do you feel, whether it's an agent, maybe be like, hey, agent, how was this audition? And they can be like, oh, you really tapped in there. That was a great one. Like, keep going in that direction. Or like, oh, maybe go back to your acting coach. You know what? I can sense some like disconnects or some things are not aligning. Like, look for feedback. A feedback loop, especially when it comes to your creative work, is huge. And getting feedback can be a powerful way to put you in the right place. All right, guys, very long-winded, but I think this was all helpful, putting it all in one place and a place that potentially you could come back to and being your own hype man, all right? So I want to end this episode on quick fire acting industry lingo. I think this is kind of funny and something that is worth discussing because I've realized as I've been in this industry for like, oh my God, I'm so old now. I don't know, 15 years almost. I'm going to be like, 30 soon? Yeah, it'll be like almost 15 years. That's so crazy. So 15 years of industry gives you hilarious background into language and lingo into the industry. So here's 15 iconic acting lingo terms every aspiring actor should know. Number 1, 10-1. This is code for I gotta pee. You're going to hear this a lot on set. Oh, I gotta go 10-1. Just a good one to know. Number 2, crafty. This is the snack station. This is obviously the star of every set where everybody hangs out, everyone eats their little snacks, everyone wants to be. Number 3, that's a wrap. That means filming is done. That means it's time to either clap or cry, depending on how you feel. Number 4, back to 1. This is what an AD will call out when they want to reset to your original mark. So they'll say, hey, back to 1. And that means you're going to start over again. Yes, again, do it again. And that's always shocking to people too, how many times you go back to 1. There's a lot of times. Number 5, the martini shot. This is the final shot of the day. So cheers to being done. Number 6, checking the gate. This is an old school phrase, making sure that the shot is clean and kind of refers back to the old days when we were working with film. Number 7, off book. You've memorized your lines. Being off book means you know your lines in and out, or at least you're hoping you have. Number 8, your sides. So this is like a mini script, a mini scene of scripts. And this is what actors cling to like a lifeline for their daily scenes. It's all the scenes you're going to be shooting that day. Number 9, a hot set. This means everything on set is perfectly placed. So don't touch a single thing unless you want the props team to literally come for you. They'll be like, it's a hot set. Don't touch anything. Number 10, an apple box. This is not what it sounds like. It's a wooden box that solves height issues. A lot of actors are a lot shorter than they seem to be, like Tom Cruise. I'm sure he stands on a lot of apple boxes. It's a place to hold their egos and also doubles as a seat during the existential crisis. A lot of people just sit on the apple box and be like, oh, long day on set, baby. Number 11, MOS means no sound is rolling. The legend says it stands for mit out sound. Number 12, people on set will yell crossing, and this is yelled to avoid walking past the camera frame mid-scene. That really can piss off the camera team. So you just want to say crossing just so they know what's going to happen. Number 13, sticks. This is just a camera tripod. Just sounds more exciting than it is. Number 14, kill the baby. Relax, don't worry, it's nothing bad. It just means turn off the tiny light. It's kind of like a very savage phrase, but really harmless intent. Seems like all of these phrases sort of come from funny backgrounds, right? And finally, number 15, the green room. Obviously, it's not actually green. It's also rarely a room. It's just where actors hang out and sometimes nervously pace and scroll on TikTok. So there you go, 15 iconic lingos and phrases that you can learn and take into your next time on set and or when you're visiting a set. Then at least you feel in the know when you hear someone yell, hey, I got to go 10-1. You're not like, what is happening? You're like, oh, they're just going to the bathroom. So there you go. There's all of the acting background that you need for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of That Digital Take. I will see you in the next episode. Love you, mean it. Bye.